And we continue learning Hachzek, Musar, Yaimi, Perek, Avos with the Pirush of Rabbeinu Yoina. And the truth is, we are closing in. Whoever saw their emails and noticed that it said that they're putting together another incredible video as a Siyam. And B'siyata D'Shmaya, we're going to be continuing Rabbeinu Yoina. It won't be Rabbeinu Yoina on Avos, but rather we're going to segue from Rabbeinu Yoina on Avos, and we're going to move into, and we're going to move into Rabbeinu Yoina on Rabbeinu Yoina's classical sefer of Shari Tshuva. But for now, we pick it up with the 8th Mishnah in the 5th Perek that teaches us Shiva Mine Paranyos Ba'anaylam Al Shiva Gufei Aveiros. 7 punishments come to the world for 7 Aveiros. Miksasan Me'asrin Miksasan Eina Me'asrin. Some of them have to do with Meiser. Some of them are not Meisered. We'll see what that means in a moment. Rav Shal Batzeris Ba Miksasan Re'evin Miksasan Sveim. Now what happens? So says the Mishnah, there are 7 different types of suffering for 7 types of Avera. If some people separate Meiser and some do not, then there's a famine that comes from a drought, from a lack of rain. So what happens from that famine? Rav shel b'tzeiris ba, that it's going to, Miksasan re'ivim, some are going to starve. Well, Miksasan tzveim, we'll call it in parallel to some giving Meiser and some not. Some will have food and some will not. Says Rabbeinu Yoina, Rav abam ne'miniyas ha'gishamim bi'itam. Rav, what does it mean? A b'tzeiris is a Rav, is a famine that comes from a lack of rain. Miksasan re'ivim and Miksasan tzveim. Mida, keneged mida, as we just explained. What if everyone doesn't give off Meiser? Then Rav Shamuhuma shall b'tzeres ba. Then we have a famine that causes upheaval and drought. Says Rabbeinu Yoina, what does that mean? This is a famine that comes from Milchama and other disasters that come to the people. They're not able to work the ground. Now everyone, just like no one's giving Meiser, no one has food. Of course, this is referring to Meiser in the perfect sense of Meiser, which of course is Meiser on grains. The Meiser that we have nowadays, Meiser Ksavim. Mirz Hashem will be giving a share on that next week, but that is only patterned after, and that is only more of a Darabanan, Minhag, etc. Of course, it's still an incredible thing to do, and it makes you rich, but that's not exactly what we're referring to over here. Continues the Mishnah. What happens if someone doesn't take of challah? Not only do they not take of meiser, Rav shall klaya ba, causes destruction. Shana shall yardu gshamim kolika, there's no rain at all. Vayishamecha asher al reishchan neshchayshes. Kal Rav Sham Baranis gedaylam. We'll make a comment that with regard to not taking of Meiser, someone might think, when's this relevant? Well, this is relevant in Eretz Yisrael nowadays. You still have to take of Meiser on all the crops. That's one of the reasons why one should be very careful with the Achsher meat in Eretz Yisrael. And similarly, Chala, you have to take off any time you make any form of dough or batter that is 5 pounds, not just the bread, the classical misconception we've said many times, but even cookies, even cakes, even maybe pancakes. That's another reason why, even here in America, you have to be careful. It could be a simple pizza store. What's the big deal? Why do I have to care so much about the hechsher? Because every batch of pizza probably is 5 pounds of dough. And they have to take of challah, or else the food is not kosher. Continues the Mishnah. What causes dever? Pestilence in English is on all the misas in the Torah that Bezdin doesn't take care of. Anytime someone's over on anything that can cause krisos, and someone is not careful on fruit of shvius, he doesn't remove them from the house, and rather he does business with them. And now there's another girsa over here. We'll just read quickly. Rabbeinu Yoina says, because Klal Yisrael turns their eyes from the evils that people are doing, but Yisrael. Let's say we don't have power to protest. Then Yefarish Davar Ba'Laylam Umdabra Adam Parati Nikroilam Katan. Then it's going in each individual person. Vu Rasha Bavana Yamos Al Yisrael Paturim. So parenthetically, Rabbeinu Yoina gives us pause to be careful that not only if we're not doing the Averis, but we're still achrai, we're still responsible, we still have to take care of and be wary of the Averis of our friends. Chayr Ba'Laylam Al Ino Yadin. Sword comes to the word undelayed judgment. Shebezdin Mi'inyan. If Bezin knows the answer, but they don't paskin right away, that could bring charev, chol ivos adin, perverting justice, mizakin the chaim is a zakeh, Bezin messes up. While hamayrim ba'teir shloki halacha, and someone who interprets and paskins in the Torah not appropriately, going Talmud, shlegia leira mayra. And this is unfortunately a classical case. Someone doesn't, he learned one thing and all of a sudden he's starting to paskin, he's starting to tell people what to do. You can't do that. And on the flip side, or maybe he does know, he just paskins incorrectly. Kulam bechlal. We continue with the 9th Mishnah. If someone swears falsely, brings wild animals. Says Rabbeinu Yoina Nishalevin Shayish Shushel Shayish. He swears on a block of marble that it is marble, meaning it's not a shvua that's false, it's just a completely unnecessary and ridiculous shvua. And of course, we're talking about being a shvua with the Shem Hashem. And this is something, unfortunately, you hear people say, I swear by God. Very careful we have to be that if swearing by God might have the same kayach at some level of a shvuah. So of course, if it's not true, but even if it is true, we see that's called a shvuah shav. V'achil Hashem, and on being mechal the Shem Hashem, desecrating Hashem's name, oisa avir for hesia. Galos b'leilam al avodah zara. Avodah zara brings galos. K'shavim ni Yisrael avodah zara. Galos b'lehem brings galos. Al gilei arayis al shechus damim v'al shmitas aris. And galos as well comes from morality, from bloodshed, and not keeping Shemitah, Shezar v'charshav v'shviyas b'mishamtin esaris. Ba'arba b'rakim ha'dever misrab. There are 4 times when the pestilence increases. B'reviyas v'shviyas moitzai shviyas moitzai chag. 4th year, 7th year, concluding the 7th year, and after Sukkot b'chol shana v'shana each and every year. And now we explain. B'reviyas in the 4th year, because in the 4th year, what do you have to do? You have to give meiser ani. You have to give the portion to the aniyim. Says Rabbeinu Yoina of the previous 3rd year, year number 1 is and 2 is Rishon and Sheni. Shenamar Kisachala says Komas and Tvascha Bashana Shlish Nasa Meiser. On the first and 2nd year, do you not get Meiser? What does the pasuk mean? Rather, what do we learn out from this pasuk? It's a year that you don't give the first 2 Meisers, you only give 1. But a Meiser Sheni, you do not give in the 3rd year. Rather, what do you give instead? Ella Meiser Ani Naisin Lager, the Yasal Amana. And when we don't give the appropriate Meiser to the Aniyim, that causes the Dever to increase. But ask Rabbeinu Yehuda 1 second. We don't find that being Mevata 1 year's Meiser causes such a terrible thing. And we see over here, doing an Aveira is one thing, but not giving to the Aniyim, stealing, Rabbeinu Yoina says, you're stealing from the Ani, it's rightfully theirs. That is much worse. They send the children to Yerushalayim. But Shvius, what's the issue on the 7th year? Because you have to give a Meiser Ani of the 6th year. Moitzai Shvius after Shemitah, they pay Shvius, Kivalu, a Meiser B'Shana Shishis. If you don't rest the land, B'Shana Shvius, Nasa Shemitah, Yisraba, Adever B'Shana Shvius, it causes the pestilence, causes the issues in the 7th year, Moitzai Sashana. And finally, what's Motzei Chag, the Motzei Sukkot, B'Chol Shana V'Shana Misrabim, the Gezel Manas Aniyim. That what says Rabbeinu Yoina, Lo Yanichu Leket Shechu Peya. All the other manas that you have to leave over a corner of the field, you have to leave over the aftergrowth, you have to leave over the sheaves, the leftover bundles, etc. So what does that have to do with Sukkot? Because Sukkot is the time of gathering, it was not in the time that Bailim do not leave the Niyim. You're stealing from the honey. And we see over here the critical importance that we have to give to all the gifts, all the matanais, all the maisers that are required upon us.